Alright guys, the next thing we want to do with our slotted car is to break in the motor. I'm going to try to explain to you guys, this is the motor that came out of the McLaren. I'm going to try to explain you guys why we want to break in the motor. Let me do a little centering here. And zoom in. Right there. Okay. So this right here is your armature. You got the shaft, the commutator, the stack, and the windings, right? And these are your brushes. The brushes, when they come from factory, if you don't use your motor, they're going to be squared. Okay, right here is going to be squared. At this point, these are old brushes. Actually, I can take one of these out and try to. There you go. I don't know if you guys can see this, but these ones have already taken the shape of the commutator. And that's basically what you want to do when you're breaking in the motor. The brushes come square. Come on. The brushes come square. They sit like this around the commutator. Okay. So by breaking in the motor, you're going to be spinning this motor at a low voltage for a reasonable amount of time, which will end up eating some of the brush material and making the brush conform to the shape of the commutator. Okay, that's all you're doing when you're breaking in a motor. Alright, so let's get to it. One thing I want to point out here is that when you're looking at the motor like this is your positive, this is your negative. There are plenty of ways of breaking a motor. Right there. I like my blue area. I'm gonna tell you guys how I do mine. Some people do it in water, distilled water. What I have here is 50% of water and 50% of alcohol, 91%, so half and half, which will probably give this 45.5% alcohol. The alcohol is just so it dries faster later. Basically, my procedure is to run this motor at around 4 volts for half an hour to an hour. After that time, I'm gonna put it in the water for another 2-3 minutes, just so the brush material that fell inside the can comes off. Okay, kind of cleans up the motor. Anyways, I'm not going to be discussing any other ways to do this. I'm just going to do it my way. You guys are welcome to do the same. One thing that I like to do before I break in any motor, although this motor is not exactly new, but I haven't used it very much, is to check the RPM before breaking at 12 volts. So this is what we're going to do. I have my power supply here set up at 12 volts. I'm going to turn the power supply off first. Connect my leads. This wheel right here is something that I made out of a spur for a helicopter. Got it at Hobbytown. And this stack right here, I think cost $10 shipped. It's very cheap. So, alright, so turn the power supply on. Actually, hold up a second. I want to lube the bushing right here, because I'm going to test after breaking. I'm going to lube it as well. When you're lubing the motor, never lube on the end bell side, always on the can side. If you lube it on the end bell, that oil might rush into the brushes. You're going to end up having to open that motor to clean the little slit between the tabs on the commutator. Okay, if you put oil, the oil and the brush material fill up this thing right here, this little slit, and it's gonna short one of the poles, and you're gonna see a lot of trouble there. Anyways, we got it lubed, mark for positive and negative, power supply. Alright, let's see if we can. Alright, so 12 volts. It's fluctuating. Let's call 21,400, okay? Yeah, let's call 21,400 RPM at 12 volts. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is connect one of the leads, power supply back on, turn the voltage down to 4 volts. Gonna leave this guy here running for, I don't know, half an hour to an hour, something like that, okay? And we'll be back. Well, my motor has been running for 45 minutes now. I got my water and alcohol mixture here. There's no debris on it. And we will check what is gonna happen after 3 minutes of this little fella running in there. I guess I can hold this. There you go. 3 minutes. You turn off the power supply. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see the carbon particles floating. There are some in the bottom too. That's basically what came out of the brushes. Alright, let's put this mixture on the side. I'm going to spin this guy for a little longer. I'm going to speed up the drying process with my air compressor here. Alright, I blew some more air in the motor. I think it's drier now. Power supply is still at 12 volts. Let's check this. There you go, guys. 12 volts, actually 1204. Let's just say that I'm not sure. There you go. Squared on 12. We definitely gained some RPM with this guy right here. 22,605. 656. Let's call it 22,600 after break-in. Okay, 22,600. That's a 1,200 RPM gain. Cool, huh? Alright, so that's that for the motor. We're gonna be using those numbers later. So if you don't have a tach, go find one on eBay. Part number is DT-2234C plus. Real cheap little guy. Works like a charm.